Well, good afternoon and happy Wednesday, everyone. My name is Jamil Steele. I am the Director of Adult Education and Literacy here at Lincoln Land Community College. I have over 25 years of experience in working in adult education. I was a part of the team that worked with acceleration opportunities when bridges and IETs they were just introduced to states as a concept. And it was a concept that I was excited about because bridge and IET programs allow adults to do multiple things in an accelerated manner. Many of adults come to our program and want to obtain their GED or learn the English language. But when they come through the door, they're wanting a little bit more than that. When they come to our door, and they may not even know it at the time, but most of them, they're coming to pursue their GED because they want to advance themselves in their career, in the career sphere, as well as the living sphere. And so we want to try to offer those opportunities for them. In time past, with traditional adult education models, we service the individual and made sure that they completed or prepared them to take their GED test or learn the English language. And then as an afterthought, we will refer them to college or career technical education programs. But the beautiful magic of the Acceleration Opportunity Act, well, I will say this, the beautiful magic about bridge and IET programs and ICAPS programs is that they allow students to obtain not only their GED credential or learn the English language, but at the same time, obtain an entry level or a stackable credential that is industry recognized that will help them move forward in life by getting a living wage. So today I'm going to be talking to you about our information technology adult education pathway here at Lincoln Land Community College. The reason why we chose the sector of information technology, because we started with using labor market data. If you are not visiting your local one-stop or you're not out working with your local WEO partners, you need to start doing that, or your workforce board, because the local market, the MII, the LMI, the local market data information tells you what are the emerging industries in your region that is hiring. IT is one of the in-demand sectors in our region. So as we begin to think about how can we get our adult education students ready to fulfill these IT jobs, we thought about creating a system with multiple on-ramps so that way no one's left behind, that students who are from beginning literacy to intermediate literacy, whether it's pursuing their GED or learning the English language, have multiple opportunities to develop the necessary skills to participate in a career training program for IT. Now, we know that one of the biggest things that happened in the past couple of years is the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, it really, pretty much 100% of us was shut down and we were working from home. And with all these people working from home, it put an increased demand on IT structures at different companies. So we thought about it and we said, hey, this is a great opportunity to fulfill that demand. So as bright minds prevail, we put our minds together and we decided that we wanted to we started with a need analysis, looking at our students and determining what their needs were. And we decided to create a 3-tier pipeline for our students to get involved in the information technology training and obtain and hope in the system to complete the training, as well as get an industry level certificate. So one of the target certificates that we selected was the Google IT certification certificate. It's a training that's offered through Google. Google produces the curriculum, and it helps individuals and it certifies individuals to become a help desk, a tier 1 help desk technician. So to accomplish this, we created a system of pre-bridge, bridge, as well as IET programs. I like to call it the pre-bridge to the IET pathway. And to get the most bang for our buck, we also partner with our Department of Apprenticeships at the time, which is now known as our Department of Work-Based Learning, to create a on-the-job training experience for our students. So that way, not only are they getting workforce preparation, but they also are getting actual hands-on experience with an employer with the potential for hiring if everything works out. Also, too, we wanted to make sure that after they got their tier 1 certificate, that they were also eligible and they had the skill sets to sit down for a higher level certificate, which is the CompTIA certification. So what I'm going to do is just slow down just a little bit, and I am going to walk you through the components of our IT to Bridge program. So we first started this off with our CAPIT grant. We had a CAPIT grant here at our college, and if anyone of you are familiar with the CAPIT grant, the CAPIT grant was a special state grant that that colleges were able to apply for to fulfill the need of employers who needed people to work in information technology. So we utilized that grant to fund this model, and we experimented with a pilot. So we had a 2-part pilot, and our first pilot consists of an 8-week bridge program and an 8-week integrated education training program, or ICAPS program. So within the first 8 weeks, the goal of the bridge was to introduce students and make sure that students had appropriate digital literacy skills. They worked on learning the vocabulary from the information technology field, as well as they had opportunity to conduct career exploration, to really understand what does it mean to work in the field of information technology, what are the stackable credentials, what are the possible outcomes, as well as we focused on employability skills, making sure that once they had an opportunity to participate in the pre-apprenticeship, that they had the core soft skills that was necessary to successfully impress the employer, as well as complete the training at hand. So within our integrated education phase, which is the second 8 weeks, that's when the students entered into an information technology training course. That they were using the Google IT certification curriculum. It was taught by a member of our career technical education department, and it was designed to help individuals not only obtain an industry recognized credential in help desk support from Google, but also to be able to sit down and take the CompTIA test as well. So what we did with our IT component is, if anybody has an ICAPS or IT program, you know it consists of 3 different components. The first component is actually the training component. Then you have the adult education component, which is what we did to fulfill that requirement. We host the adult education support course along with the training course, and it was integrated for that second 8 weeks. And then also we continue to provide support by our through our transition coordinators and navigators to make sure those students had that hands-on support for the last phase, as well as the job training phase as well. So the beautiful part about our system is we broke it up into 3 tiers. So our first tier was our IT pre-bridge. Now our program, we service up to 600 students per year. And so when we register a student for either our ESL program or our high school equivalency program, the first thing we do after collecting their demographic data is we also do a career interest survey. So right at the onset, we know what students want to go into what career and what sectors, as well as we also offer them a general career bridge class as well for those who are undecided. But as it pertains to individuals who select IT, we begin to work with them right away. So with our pre-bridge class, with the activities of that class, and it's an 8-week class, it's just focused on career awareness. Students are introduced to basic computer skills as well, where they could actually learn how to use the basics of computer, internet search, and then we also introduce them to career tools, whether there's video presentations, whether it's internet research, and they have an opportunity to really explore what the IT industry is, what does a help desk technician do, and the possible outcomes. So we try to target all of our ABE students, and those are the ones that are at least at the 6th to 8th grade level, are ESL students who are at the 5th and 6th grade level for the pre-bridge course. Now we have also, which is our second tier, which is our IT bridge. Now with our bridge course, this is a little bit more intense. We still focus on the digital literacy as well as basic computer skills, but we also introduce those students to keyboarding, Microsoft Office products such as Microsoft Word and Excel, because as a help desk technician, they're going to have to write reports. They're going to maybe have to look at Excel spreadsheets to do troubleshooting and things of that nature, as well as they're going to have to be proficient in keyboarding. We made an assumption during our pilot that if a student knows how to use a cell phone, that they actually are computer proficient. And we found out through the pilot that was wrong. When you think about it, a lot of our students know how to text, they know how to search things on their phone, but there's a lot of them they come into rough territory when it comes to keyboarding. Because when you think about keyboarding, it does take a special skill set where you have to know how to learn how to use all the function keys, how to work words capital, how to use the number keypad and things of that nature. So we built that into our IT bridge to prepare them to enter into the IT. So in the third 8 weeks, when they finally get to the IET phase, that's when they're working on their Google curriculum. They're learning how to be a help desk technician. They're working with a career technical ed instructor, and they're walking them through all the necessary components to be prepared to get the certificate as a Google help desk technician. So as I said, our project history, we pilot. We started with a pilot in 21, and this pilot was funded through the CAPIT grant. And it allowed us to scale a pathway for adult education students to enter into IT career pathways. Previously, when the CAPIT grant was first released, it was open to a larger population than adult education. So in FY21, we were happy that ICCB ran a special grant opportunity for colleges who were CAPIT recipients to develop targeted pathways for adult education students. So we leveraged that. So in our pilot, our first pilot, we developed a 6-week bridge course. And in that bridge course, we utilized North Star Digital Literacy. And that's a digital literacy assessment. It's free and available online right now for all programs to use. And what it helps us to do is determine the students' digital literacy levels. What I like about North Star Digital Literacy, it assesses students' knowledge of the components of the computer, all the way to technical terms such as web browser, how to, all the technical terms that come along with surfing the internet. How do you minimize a window? How you do internet research? What is a browser and those type of things, as well as it gives them an introductory level to Microsoft Office projects as well. And in part two of the week of the IET course, obviously we had, like I said, we had a IET, which was approved through, or ICAPS, which has been previously approved to ICCP, that had three components. There was the training component, as well as the adult education support course, along with integrated workforce preparation activities. So the lessons that we learned from our pilot, and I will say this, our model is still a work in progress. We're constantly going to the drawing board. We're constantly doing a program design. We're doing a program review to look at how we can improve our programming and make sure that it's very student-centered. So from the first pilot, we discovered that keyboarding skills was necessary. So we added that to our bridge program. Also, too, we discovered with our first pilot, when we first ran it, there were a lot of students that were interested in the IT field, but a lot of them were below the 8th grade level at the time. So that's where we came up with the concept for a pre-bridge course, because we want to make sure that we meet our students where their needs are at. And our students come into our program with a lot of enthusiasm, and we don't want to tell them, hey, you have to wait for a year before you can get into start exploring a career or get into career training programs. But with a pre-bridge, it allows us to have a soft introduction to the career field, as well as to work with them with some core skills all along while they're still working on their GED or their ESL needs. Another discovery aha moment we had with our first pilot is that our students need a lot of wraparound support services, such as coaching. So we applied for the Innovation Bridge and Transition Grant to hire additional support staff to support student success as they navigate through the bridge and the IET models. And we also leverage our partnerships with our WIOA partners, as well as our area planning council or APC partners, to make sure that these students had someone who was in their life each week of the program that will help them be accountable, as well as help them troubleshoot issues. And last but not least is success points. One big aha we had when we took a step back and look at the whole program as far as the three components with the pre-bridge, the bridge, as well as the IET, we've discovered that we created a pathway for all students who are interested. So we have a bucket for every student when they first come into our program, and they indicate to our transitions coordinator that they're interested in going into the IT pathway. We have a bucket to put them in and to help them progress through the pipeline. Okay, and so our next version, which we're working on now, like I said, we are going to add keyboarding skills into our bridge course. We're also going to expand our bridge course from the 6 weeks to 8 weeks, because we discovered that our students need a lot more time for advisement and learning. I often tell our students, once they decide to make 2 steps forward, what is Murphy's Law will kick in, and that's when all the problems will start to happen. But we let them know up front that our transition coaches and our navigators will be there to help you. And so that way, I know our transition coordinator has done a great job with being the cheerleader for our students. Every time there comes a time, every other week, one of the students wants to drop out of the program because of things that are going on in their outside life. And she works with them to help them troubleshoot, as well as to motivate them to try and give it another week. Um, Also, too, our coaches work with the students as well during the work-based learning phase to make sure that they're showing up to their assignment on time and that they are exhibiting behaviors that is appropriate for the work-based learning experience, because that's very important. One, if you have an employer who's willing to allow a student to complete an internship, you want to make sure, one, that that student is being respectful, and let that student know that they're a very important person, because they're an ambassador for every other student that's going to come after them. So we want to definitely have a positive employer experience, so that way we can keep the door open for future internships as well as employment opportunities for our students. This model here is definitely resides on a braided funding model. We're constantly juggling the parts of it. The first model was funded through the CAPIT program. The second model was funded through the Innovation Bridge and Transitions Grant. And the third model is we're hoping we'll apply for the next year, this year's IBT grant. And what we're going to do with the funding, if we receive that funding, is we want to expand this model, not only by for our students demographically, but by service area too. We want to make sure that for students who, because our college serves a 15 county radius, so we have a lot of territory, and sometimes some of our students have a problem coming to our main campus. So we want to increase access for those students to obtain these training programs. So many of the programs, well, especially in IT that we're offering, some components can be done in person and some components can be done hybrid as well. So we want to try to fund the expansion of those models so that way we can better serve our students as well. Okay, well, I know I shot through it and there's a lot of information, but at this point in time, I would like to hear from you. So I am going to release, and Amy, I don't know if you want to help facilitate this.
Yeah, we have
and
a
I'm
couple
going to
questions
just take
in the,
questions.
okay, yeah, we have a couple questions in the chat.
Okay,
And just a reminder to anybody, if you'd like to post any questions, please post those in the chat, or feel free to raise your hand and then you can unmute as we call on you, or chime in. It's great. We have a question in the chat. Did you have any prerequisite technology skills for students to qualify for the program? And the following comment is, we found that getting students ready for the CompTIA certificate was a tough climb if students didn't already have basic computer literacy.
that is a good question. So our qualifying tool for our students was the North Star Digital Literacy Assessment. And if you haven't heard of the North Star Digital Literacy Assessment, I will invite you right now to just Google it. It's a very popular program. And what I like about it is very user-friendly. It actually assesses the digital literacy skills from individuals who have zero digital literacy up to maybe intermediate or advanced. And not only do they have an assessment tool, they also have training modules as well that you can integrate in your class. So at that point in time, we were able to open it up to all students. So basically, we had 3 buckets. So if a student didn't qualify for the bridge, our bridge program, when we first ran it, we wanted to serve our high ASE students, and we target our high level 6 ESL students. But for students who were not up to that academic level yet, we offered them the pre-bridge, which were focused on the fundamental digital literacy skills. And we saw it as a win-win because literally, well, you can't lose teaching your students digital literacy skills, no matter what grade level they're at. That's going to help them advance their knowledge base as far as doing internet research, as well as, the CASAS, the TABE, as well as the GED test is now all online. And so it kind of prepares them to be able to have those skills to thrive as well.
Fantastic, thank you. Our next question is, do ESL and ABE students work separately as well? How do you get ABE students reading levels up and work on ESL skills?
That is a good question. And technology has been our friend. So once we get our students to overcome the basic, to develop their basic digital literacy skills to the point where they can use a computer. We use 2 online curriculums that's been very helpful to serve both populations. One is Burlington English. We use that with all of our ESL students. So Burlington English does a great job of providing students with a introductory assessment, meeting the students where they're at, as well as providing them access to develop their vocabulary, their English speaking skills, as well as completing activities online. Also, too, we have experimented with a new product called Voxy Engine. And basically, it's another alternative for online learning. They have their online curriculum scaffold for different levels, from beginning to advanced. And so basically, we hadn't had any problems with an integrated class. In fact, our observation is that the students are very excited and they actually work with one another and support one another through the process.
Fantastic. Next question. How many hours a week do your classes meet?
That's a good question. So for this particular round, well, for the pilot, our classes met, well, I'll start off with the pre-bridge. So for the pre-bridge and the bridge, we ran them 6 hours a week. So they were 2 hours, I'm sorry, there were 2 days a week and 3 hours per session. And with the IET, that's a little bit more complicated because we're partnering with the career, with our career technical education department. And that particular class was 10 hours a week. So students had to be able to participate in a all-day training, which lasts from 7:30 to 3:30 on Mondays. And then they also had to be available for the Monday class was 6 hours. And for the Tuesday class, and I'm talking about the IT portion of it, IET portion of it, it was hybrid, and they had to do 1 hour of instruction online via Zoom with the instructor. And then they were given an hour and a half to do independent work online as well.
Excellent. So next question again,
Sure.
just a reminder for everybody, post those questions in the chat or feel free to raise your hand or unmute. Our next question comes to us as, are the classes the same code, ESL and ASE, for all students, or are there 2 separate classes, one ESL and one for ASE?
You have to create them in DAISY as 2 separate classes. So you'll have to create one class code for ASC and one class for ESL. There's no option to do an integrated class in DAISY to my knowledge.
Excellent. Any other questions? Those are the ones that I see in the chat. Erin, do you see anything I'm missing in the chat?
No, I think you got them all.
Angela, Levon, any additional comments for Jamil? Want to ask him what his favorite Netflix series is? Anything like that?
Or Amy, I am open to feedback if anybody is brave enough to provide me some feedback on the model that I present. I'm always looking to improve this model. And I know we have various subject matter experts on this call, such as, fellow administrators or either bridge instructors as well.
Well, you heard it, folks. He's ready for feedback. Feel free to unmute yourselves. And again, we can have conversation. And if you want me to, I can actually stop the recording unless you all can let me know that part.
I'll leave that one up to you, Amy.
Brittany can edit if it goes sideways. Any questions for Jamil? Any comments on what he presented?
If you get no comments or questions, that means everyone's decided to start their models.
Exactly. They're all starting their models, which is fantastic. So just a couple housekeeping while you're thinking of those questions, that this session has been recorded and the recordings will be available. Give us about a week or so to get those up on the Transitions Academy website, on the ICAPS website. The link is there in the chat. If you need professional development certificate, or if you are requesting a professional wow, that was a hard word for me there. Professional development certificate. We'll need you to reach out to Linda Zimmerman, and her email is there in the chat as well, lizimme@siue.edu. And also, if you do need a certificate, your name does need to be your name in the chat. So in the participants list. So if it looks like everybody does have their name. We've had some that are just, Wildcats 27. We don't know who that is, so we'll need that. And then finally, our next session will start at 3:15. And
I
that
have
will
a question for Jamil.
Great, thank you.
So Jamil, remind me, and you may have answered this, did you use for the bridge class? I know there's an IT pre-approved curriculum for the bridge classes through ICCB. Did you use that curriculum, or did you build your own curriculum for the bridge stuff?
Yes, I forgot to ask that.
And I'm not going to be offended with whatever your answer is.
No, we actually utilized that. Plus, we also had a combination of IT for our bridge and our pre-bridge. We also had an outside curriculum from McGraw-Hill that focused on information technology. So, and it has like a lot of activities where it improves the students' reading levels as well as math levels as well. So it was a combination of both.
Okay, cool. I know it's a newer curriculum, so I don't know how many people have really put it into play in the state yet. And so just hearing that somebody's using it is good news for me.
Excellent. We did have another question in the chat. Do you have issues with lower class counts for pre-bridge into ICAPS, which then results in issues securing instructors who do not want to teach prorated classes, which I totally understand is in parentheses. If so, how do you counter and get around this predicament?
Yes, yes, and yes. And I would love some invite from my colleagues as well. That's one of the reasons why I actually signed up for the Transitions Academy this year, to kind of reach out to my colleagues throughout the state and possibly get some suggestions for improving recruitment. You're right. You have, and I'm gonna make this number up. This is an actual number. So like, say, for instance, we have 150 students who register for adult education for our GED programming. But out of that pool, maybe only 3 of them follow through and go into the information technology pathway. So what we kind of do is, recruitment is definitely an ongoing process. You definitely have to rely on your staff have the right staff in the place to constantly kind of like conversation with the students, because we're competing with life, and it's hard to compete with life. And what I mean by that, all of our students have a lot of opportunity and a lot of obligations outside the GED class and the ESL classroom. So, my advice to you is to constantly recruit, market early. And hopefully you can build up interest with enough individuals who are interested in taking your bridge class or participating in your IET. The other thing is to work with, if you're a community college, definitely work with the other divisions. because, you know, it depends on the funding source, but you can serve other students outside of the adult education arena. So like there may be many students who may have a high school diploma, but are still basic skills deficient. So, and how do you know that? If you know, you can maybe work with your career technical ed departments, because I know I've tried to work with our deans, and a number of times each semester, they may have students who want to enter in their programs, but their math and reading levels are not up to par yet as well.
So in a follow-up to that, sorry, now I've
Sure.
got all these questions going in my head. So have you had any students that you know of that referred family or friends after they made it through?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. We have one unique case where it started off with one of our students' wives. She came in to complete her GED during the pandemic, and she enjoyed it so much that she said, hey, you know, my husband's at home, and they had a special needs kid, and he needs to get his GED. So I told her about the IET, our IIT program. And I said, this would be perfect for him, because many places are hiring people to work at home right now, and all they need is basic computer skills. And so upon that pitch, he came in, and he actually successfully completed not only his GED, but our IET pathway. And as a result, he invited his father-in-law, two of his brothers. It's like a whole family event. And all of them are now currently participating in our program.
Good. And when
So,
that
you know,
happens, it speaks to the students' confidence in the program, the students' belief in the program.
yes, in fact, we actually did a highlight for the student. I won't make mention of his name since we're talking in a public arena, but he was so excited that he started going around passing out flyers for our program to people in the community that he knew needed our help, as well as he's pretty much became a spokesman. We recorded, I wish I had the videos to share with everyone, but we recorded some videos, and he's actually working at one of our partner companies now.
Good.
That is a great story. He didn't happen to have an apprenticeship, did he?
Yes, he actually, he worked through we partner with our Department of our work-based learning. And it used to be called our Department of Apprenticeships, but they changed it to work-based learning. So they titled it as a pre-apprenticeship, and it was a non-registered one, obviously. But yes, he participated in that. One of our partner companies was Horace Mann, which is here in Springfield.
Okay.
And they gave him an opportunity to work there part-time doing it for an internship. And at the end of the internship, they were so impressed with him that they hired him on full-time.
He's not a vet, is he?
No, he's not a veteran.
Angela knows where I'm going with this. It's kind of an inside thing. So, okay. Thank you.
So Jamil, I believe that is who Brenda has already shared that story with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we will
Brenda
be
has shared that story.
I'm aware of that. When you finished the story, I was like, oh yeah, I do know that story.
Yeah. So now we're trying to clone him and produce more stories.
But I do like the way you made that connection to the CAPIT and your flow, you know, from the pre-bridge, the bridge, the IET, getting them ready, you know, to move forward. And because it is a long process sometimes for people. But I love to see things laid out like that in a flow chart. And I mean, for me personally, I just like that model.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, that is just helpful to me. Yeah. So anyway,
yeah, because we wanted to kind of create a pipeline because I recognize that our students have complicated lives. And
Yeah.
some of them, like, they may start that pre-bridge, stop out,
yeah,
but, you know, we will have the opportunity for them to come back, find an on-ramp back onto training once they work out their life issues.
yeah. Okay.
All right.
Oh, I have a question. I'm sorry. Do we have time?
We do.
Okay. So one of the things, this is Levon, and I'm always harping on internal partnerships. And you
Sure.
mentioned internal, don't forget to reach out internally to different divisions. Do you, at Lincoln Land, do you have any sort of formal process in place or formal group in place that focuses on these kinds of issues, that brings together, let's say, non-credit continuing ed, CTE adult ed, where you all talk about this work-based learning space or workforce issues, or I'm putting you on the spot,
Sure.
but, or is it sort of an informal? I'm just
Well, right
curious.
now, it's an informal process, but we're formalizing it. What I try to do as the director of adult ed is I try to meet with divisional deans as much as possible,
Uh-huh.
as well as we have our career technical ed division is called the Workforce Institute. And they house all our short-term certificate
Okay.
training programs. So what I try to do is constantly meet with the deans as well as the directors of other departments to advocate for our students. Many of them often talk about how they struggle to have enrollment in their programs.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, what I try to do is say, hey, well, here's an option. I call our students the hidden oil. These are individuals who are non-traditional that
Uh-huh.
you can help get into your program, and we can support them throughout your program. Also, too, I work with our WEI division.
Okay.
That's the Workforce Equity and Initiative Grant.
Uh-huh.
We were able to obtain that. So that grant serves minority students and low socioeconomic students, which all of our students qualify
Yeah.
in our adult ed program. So we try to partner with them for wraparound supports as well as funding. And definitely, I always go to our local one-stop meetings and workforce board meetings and try to promote these offerings, as well as to get external department partners on board as well.
Now, how do you, oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jamil, but how are you all thinking about formalizing this internal convening?
Well, it first starts with me, and I put myself behind the driver's seat. Is what I want to do is, as a director of adult ed, is to schedule regular quarterly meetings with our what I call our internal stakeholders.
Uh-huh.
So that may mean I may have to schedule a meeting with a dean or with a director of a career technical ed program, ask them, you know,
Uh-huh.
what are the gaps in their program and how can we help them fulfill those gaps? Because many of the directors are saying that as later generations of students come into our college system, and there was a report on CNN actually, at the effects of the pandemic, they saying that the average student reading level and math level is like 2 years behind. So it's a great way for adult ed to partner
Okay.
with these divisions to make sure
Mhm.
that individuals have not only digital literacy skills, but appropriate reading and math skills to thrive in career training programs.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's, you know, that's been something that I always think is so important. having people internally collaborating
Yes.
and all of this work. Okay, thanks, Jamil. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.